radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. For the masses. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? Today's Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. 119 days into the new year. Only 247 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? All right, let's do this. Tonight, very special guest, Gregg Housh. Gregg Housh is here. We're going to be talking about the media tonight, all of it, and how it is attempting to control you and the world. and what you need to do right now, if you're not familiar with Gregg, and that's okay. He's been on the show a few times, and he was on our TV show, and I've had him over at Coast 2 as well, a couple of times, I think, by now. His background, extraordinary. Extraordinary. The things that he has done and been through, and seriously knows about the media and the internet and control. That's right. And his assistance for different TV programs and things when it comes to stuff like this and the internet is what Gregg is all about. He is highly regarded and respected, and to have Gregg with us, and he has been a part of this show now, I'm going to have to ask Rita, 3 years? 3 years. And I will never forget, we were in New York shooting for History Channel, and Gregg and Rita and I all stayed at the same hotel. And meeting Gregg, first off, he's tall. He's a big guy. He's not, he's really tall. But you meet him, he's very intimidating. And we were all part of, we were at the Hope conference in New York, Hackers on Planet Earth. And I'm serious about this too, his respect in that world is incredible and incredible to witness. And then you start talking to him and you realize he's a very, very deep guy with an understanding of the internet and the media. It's extraordinary. So Gregg is with us tonight. Tomorrow night, right here on this program, Jason Quitt is here for Quitspiracy Part 4. And also, tomorrow night, we will be taking your phone calls Okay? We want to hear about, so think about it. Okay, what are your conspiracies that need to be rated? And we will rate it 1, 2, 3, 4 pipes tomorrow night. And you know about the conspiracies that we have already talked about on the show. So hit outside of those. And maybe there is a conspiracy out there that you have thought about that hasn't been mentioned. I want to hear from you tomorrow night. We'll do all of that on Quitspiracy Part 4 here on Fade to Black. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the Sandbox. Watching the Sandbox light up at the start of the show every night is something that I really enjoy. Hello to everybody there. And, of course, we have 2 chat rooms, one over at Spreaker, one over at KGRA The Planet, and then there is everything that is going on over at Facebook and YouTube and here on Twitter, where we are also broadcasting live, as well as TalkStream Live and KGRA The Planet. Okay? All right. Let's see. Any questions or comments tonight, you can email me directly, Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. And don't forget to get your immune system in check. And with coronavirus, which I don't like mentioning anymore, I just don't want to be part of the fear, but just get your immune system in check, okay? So you don't have that fear. You know that you're strong and you've got it. Go to getthetea.com. Visit their special page. They have an immune package right there set up and ready to go for you. Click on the banner over at our site. Use the promo code FADER, F-A-D-E-R. Will get you free shipping because you're a Fader not. Okay, for all orders over $50. Billy Carson and his new television network, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv, is up and running. You need to go and check it out. Billy is our newest sponsor here at Fade to Black, and the links and banners are over on our site. He's got over 1,000 programs and episodes right there uploaded for you. I encourage all of you to go and check out the amazing programming that he's got set up over at Forbidden Knowledge TV. Sign up today. You get 3 days trial membership. There you go. Get access to everything for free. Okay, so go and check it out, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with a 4. Forbidden Knowledge. Almost that's something else. River Moon Coffee is now available on Amazon. Visit their Amazon store. The links are over in banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. There are 2 promo codes that you can use. There's Jimmy RMC, which is Jimmy River Moon Coffee, all caps. Use that for Amazon. You get a 5% additional discount, and you get free shipping if you're an Amazon Prime member. And that's for the Amazon store. If you go directly to rivermooncoffee.com, and certainly you want to check out our newest blend, it's called the Game Changer, available on both platforms. But River Moon Coffee, the promo code there is F2B Blend, and you will get 15% off of your order today. All of those banners are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Let's get to the breaking news. Have you seen the Sarah Adams live stream UFO video? Have you seen this yet? Watched it today. I sent it over to Coast. I was like, hey, man, this has got to go up on the Coast site. And you guys need to check it out. It's pretty cool. And we'll post it up in Twitter. Rita, if you can get it up there, we'll post it up in Twitter so all of you can check it out. And when Rita gets it up there, I will do a retweet for everybody. But it's a pretty cool video. And as you watch the video, let me give you some advice. Watch the video, but watch the entire thing. Okay? It's a beautiful live stream. Okay? Just watch the whole thing. And you can post your comments about that up in Twitter. But it's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool video. Other breaking news, tomorrow night, an asteroid estimated to be 1.2 miles wide is set to fly by Earth early Wednesday morning. Don't worry, it's not going to collide with us, but it's called Asteroid 52768, 1998 OR2 was first spotted in 1998. Tomorrow, April 29th, it's going to pass within 3,900,000 miles of Earth, moving at 19,461 miles per hour. So it's kind of sputtering. It's not moving that fast. You see so many that are in the 45,000 miles per hour range. This one's only going 19,461. That's still at 3.9 million miles. It's 16 times farther than the distance between the Earth and the Moon. So it's way out there, but you can see it. The flyby is expected to occur at 5:56 a.m. Eastern Time. There you go. All right, so that is tomorrow night, Wednesday morning. NASCAR can go forward finally. Finally, we're showing signs of life in this country. NASCAR can go forward with the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway without fans in attendance at the end of May. Unless the health conditions deteriorate in the state, the governor of North Carolina announced everything today. Yesterday, NASCAR gave teams its latest revised schedule, which shows racing resuming May 17th, 2.5 weeks, at Darlington in South Carolina, followed by a second race at Darlington on May 20th. The 600, the Coca-Cola 600, is going to fire off on May 24th, followed by a second race at Charlotte on May 27th. There you go. All right, Rita just got the live stream up. I'm going to do a quick retweet here. Please excuse my pause for doing this, everybody, but I promised that I would do it. Sarah Adams UFO video. Okay, that should be good enough, right? Does everybody know what this is? Okay. All right, so I got that up there. Temperatures in Las Vegas have never hit the century mark in April, any April before. But that's the forecast for tomorrow. Over 100 degrees as record-setting spring heat wave hits in the desert Southwest. It's already hit here in Southern California. Phoenix is predicted to hit, now check this, 106 degrees on Thursday, which would also be its hottest weather ever observed during the month of April. Yeah, things changed for us last Thursday here. It had been raining and cold for 6 weeks, and then it was announced, like, tomorrow it's going to be 90. And the sun peaked out on Thursday. Friday, it hit 90, and it hasn't cooled down, by the way. But it was like this rapid, just like that, just a turnaround. What, like global warming? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's global warming after 6 weeks of near winter freezing rainy weather. That's never happened in Southern California. It was all confusing to us. All right, I got a couple of announcements to make. The StarWorks UFOs and Artificial Intelligence Conference in Laughlin, Nevada is still on November 5th through the 8th. Go to StarWorks USA for tickets and info. I'm going to be there. Grant Cameron, Paul Hynek, James Fox, Alan Stivelman, Sid Goldberg. Another 12 speakers and researchers will be there, both international and national. I'm going to be hosting. Rita's going to be there. Our entire Fade to Black crew is going to be there right there in Laughlin, Nevada at the Aquarius Hotel and Casino. StarWorksUSA.com is where you need to go for tickets and information. Now, breaking news on Disclosure Fest. The Disclosure Fest event at the historic Los Angeles Park in downtown Los Angeles, scheduled for June 20th, has been moved to August 8th. The state of California and the city of Los Angeles have said that it should be a safe date for everyone. We anticipate around 20,000 attendees. And with the crowd that large, we want to make sure that everyone has a great time. Okay, so there is the latest breaking news about Disclosure Fest. Check out all of the latest news over at disclosurefest.org. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to Penelope Cruz, is 46 years old. Jay Leno today is 70. And Margaret today is 79. And Sonic Youth's Kim Gordon is 67. I'm going to go on the record and say it right now. Sonic Youth was one of the great bands in the history of music. Pacific Coast Highway. That's all I got to say. Man, what a great band. Amazing band. Kim Gordon today, 67 years old. Amazing talent. On this day in history, 1789. Mutiny on the HMS Bounty. That's right. Captain Bligh and his 18 loyal supporters were set adrift in a small open boat, and the Bounty set course for Tahiti, which you would have never known about if it wasn't for the movie. Admit it right now. Fader fact. Cells in the retina. I was telling Rita about this yesterday, and I had to do it. I had to do it today. Cells in the retina decline in sensitivity as we age, meaning that colors like blue appear washed out as the years go by. In short, the sky actually was bluer when you were younger. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight, we have very special guest. Gregg Housh is here. We're going to be talking about the media, all of it, and how it is attempting to control you and the world. Tomorrow night, Quitspiracy 4 with Jason Quitt. Thursday is another Fader night, and it will be open lines all night long. Now, let me hit this River Moon coffee. Video. This is... Rita just said that the video for Sarah Adams was taken last year. It wasn't a recent live stream. I didn't know that. Okay, but now you know. It's still a pretty cool video. Where am I at? Rivermoon Coffee, rivermooncoffee.com, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Okay. Can we talk? Can we talk? Okay, so yesterday, the Navy and the Pentagon decided to release the 3 videos officially, whatever that means, the 3 videos. Now, we know that these videos have been around for a long time, circulating in our community, and the release has created 3 groups. The first are those who don't think that there is anything in these videos that are alien or ET. That's group number 1. The second group believe that the videos contain real evidence of aliens visiting our planet. And the third group is new. The third group, they have seen these videos for the first time and are in shock right now. That's right. And I just didn't know that a third group like this could be created so quickly. And I know it may seem strange that there might be people out there who haven't watched Fox News over the last 2 years, who don't read the news or follow the media, who have never heard of Tom DeLonge or TTSA, but it's true. This is actually the biggest group of the 3, and as crazy as it sounds, and I'll say it, this is a good thing. Today, when I watch these videos today, I don't see anything alien or ET. Okay? Everything about them just seems like normal stuff. My eyes. But my opinion doesn't matter. And apparently for the Navy, they don't see anything alien or ET either. Remember what the Navy said in their announcement yesterday. Quote, after a thorough review, the department has determined that the authorized release of these unclassified videos does not reveal any sensitive capabilities or systems. They're not UFOs. They're not ET. And does not impinge on any subsequent investigations of military airspace incursions by unidentified aerial phenomena, end quote. Now, after reading this statement many times over the last 24 hours, I come to only one conclusion. The Navy wouldn't release any videos if they have something extraterrestrial in them. The line, quote, these unclassified videos does not reveal any sensitive capabilities or systems, kinda says it all. You see, an alien craft visiting this planet would definitely have sensitive capabilities and systems. That's right. Now, the importance of the work of John Greenwald over the last 2 years, the constant pressure he put on the Pentagon to give these statements, that importance cannot be measured. Without the relentless badgering from John, the Pentagon wouldn't have said or done a thing. In fact, I doubt that anyone inside the Pentagon could give a rat's butt about these videos. Nobody inside those walls are talking about them or care about them. They're not wasting their time. They know they don't have aliens from Zeta Reticuli in them. They know this, man. But that doesn't mean that the Pentagon doesn't have videos, knowledge, or evidence about ET. It just means that these videos are not evidence of an alien presence on Earth. The Navy won't be releasing anything like that ever. Bet on it. But, and this is the best part, but what the Navy did yesterday is help bring the UFO and ET question right out front into the media again, and once again expose a larger portion of the world to the issue. That's what happened. I have always said that I don't need disclosure in the classic sense, but for many, disclosure will always mean one thing, and that's the President of the United States live on television stating UFOs and ETs are real and they have been visiting this planet. We have made contact, end quote. That's what you want. And anything short of that is not disclosure. And I get it. I really do. For me, I think that disclosure has been going on for the last 80 years. It's a long process, for sure, and I get that. But there is one thing we haven't heard. One, and that is that we are alone in the universe. Nobody's ever said that, have they? That is the part that the Pentagon left out yesterday, which may be the most important thing when you read between the lines. Now, sure, I understand E.T. may not be in these 3 videos, but the next project for John Greenwald should be getting the Pentagon to admit that they do have the real deal stuff, but it ain't getting released ever. That would be disclosure. You see, I'm sure that the Pentagon spokesperson, Sugao, has not heard or responded to the last email or phone call from Greenwald on this or any other UFO-related matter. And she knows this. And there's another dynamic to this whole story that has not been addressed, and that is TTSA, DeLong, and Luis Elizondo, among others, have clearly stated over the last 2 years that they got the Pentagon to release the videos and tried to convince the world of this fact with a bogus release form. And yesterday, DeLong actually tweeted that they finally released his videos. Not his videos. So, were they actually released back then, 2017, as they stated and argued, by Lewis and company? Well, obviously not. This fact, as presented yesterday by the Pentagon and acknowledged by DeLong, officially means TTSA is full of doo-doo. Quote me. Now, where does this leave Dave Fravor and the rest of the witnesses to these events? Well, I believe they saw something, and their testimony is as compelling as it gets, but they didn't see what is in these videos. The one video out there, the Puerto Rico Homeland Security video, is something that should be examined. This is the video that the New York Times, Fox, and CNN should have covered, but they did not. Somehow it's gotten lost in all of the chatter over the last couple of years, and I've seen the high-res version. And yes, it is something that certainly cannot be explained. Seriously. Now, I want to go back really quick before I have to get to the commercial. And it is this. I have seen all of the social media, not all of it, but I've seen a lot of the social media posts out there that said, finally, the Pentagon has released the videos. Finally, the Pentagon says UFOs are real. Finally. No. The Pentagon said, and I have to quote one more time, that there is nothing in these videos. The Pentagon does not care about these videos. After a thorough review, the department has determined that the authorized release of these unclassified videos does not reveal any sensitive capabilities or systems. I would think that something extraterrestrial, ET-related, not of this planet or anything else, is certainly sensitive. So think about that. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, Gregg Housh is here. We are going to be discussing how the media, all of it, is attempting to control you and the world around us. That's right. That is the conversation tonight. Gregg Housh. Tomorrow night, right here, Jason Quit and Quitspiracy Part 4. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I'll be right back with our guest, Gregg Housh, after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims. We'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your Super Strength Cleansing Tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com for Super Strength Tea. And YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Gregg Housh, and we are going to discuss the mass media, TV, radio, the news, entertainment, the internet, and how your mind and the world around you is controlled by what you see and hear. Now, a little background on Gregg. Gregg spent much of his teens and early 20s evading an FBI task force while helping to operate the internet's foremost software pirating rings and otherwise living the life of a criminal hacker. In 2000, the chase was finally over. He got busted. The next 7 years were spent in and out of court until he pled guilty to conspiracy to violate copyright laws in 2007. He was incarcerated in a federal penitentiary, including 27-day run in solitary confinement. Upon release, he worked a series of computer-related jobs while continuing to participate in various online subcultures. That's right. Soon after, his key role in an anonymous global protest campaign against the Church of Scientology was made public in 2008, Housh began serving as a media interpreter and interview subject for newspapers, websites, radio, and television. He has appeared on countless news programs and has been quoted in publications around the world. Meanwhile, he has continued to work with anonymous participants on various operations, offering advice and other forms of support as needed. The one and only Gregg Housh. Gregg, welcome back, man. How have you been?
Sick for the last little while, but starting to feel better.
Well, we're not going to use the C word tonight.
Good. You don't want your Facebook page banned, huh?
Yeah. I don't want anything banned. I play by the rules, man. Not like you. I play. I go up to the edge, Gregg. I take a peek and then I back off. You're all in, and we respect you for that.
Man, I love you, right?
Yeah, I know you do.
How fringe is saying I play by the rules?
Hey,
come on now.
You know what, Gregg?
Bring me over here.
You know what? Let me ask you this. I don't think I've ever asked you this question before, but let's say if you had, and I'm not saying that you do, right? But if you had any influence with Anonymous, wink, wink, if you did, how could we get Anonymous behind a grand UFO hack, right? To go in and find out what the government and agencies and the Air Force and the military, videos, documents, photographs. How do we make that happen?
I mean, I think you think I'm Tom DeLonge here. He's the guy who's up the goods.
Or the lack of. He thought he did.
I never thought I'd live in a society where Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 gets the military to declassify videos that they still don't have good enough public, statements about.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. But how do
expect that? Getting Anonymous to do anything is a strange way to word it, simply because it's not a thing. Anonymous isn't a group, and it doesn't really exist in any real sense of the word exist. It's an idea, and whoever wants to use it can use it. So
right.
If someone out there wanted to use the name and do that, that's absolutely a thing they could do. But a lot of hackers spent teenage years, young years, as they're getting their feet wet, kind of learning their skills, going up against NASA and the CIA and other places looking for that kind of information. And
right.
If you look at people like Julian Assange, that was the first big thing he got in trouble for, was allegedly hacking NASA.
And you bring up a great point. When you and I were at the Hope Conference a few years ago, I would have never expected this. Not many people at the Hope Conference knew about UFOs or me, but everybody at the Hope Conference knew Gary McKinnon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it blew my mind. They knew everything about Gary and loved talking about him. He's a hero, isn't he?
Yeah, very much so.
And the other part is this: you said to me once one of the most frightening things that I could ever hear. I said to you, so Greg, you and I were just chatting somewhere. I think we were in a cab, and I said, you may remember this conversation, but I said, Greg, how long would it take for you to hack, or anybody, right? To hack an unhackable computer? And you looked at me and you go, it depends if the person's bored or not. And I said, what do you mean? And you said, 5 minutes. And I was dumbfounded. And you said it in such a matter-of-factly, blasé way. I knew that you were telling me the truth. And then you said, you said, but there is a follow-up to that. That is if I have access. If I can touch the computer, 5 minutes. If I don't have that, then I've got to get a human involved, and that'll take a little more time. But once that human is inserted, 5 minutes, right?
Physical access is 5 minutes every time. It's remote access that always adds layers of complexity that add time. But physical access and, worst case scenario, I'm just going to literally get the hard drive out in my hands and get out the door somehow with it, and then I'll worry about figuring out what's on it later. Like, physical access is everything.
When we were at the Hope Conference, and I want to paint a picture for everybody, so, hackers on planet Earth, and I walked into one of the lectures there, and there was probably 400 or 500 people in attendance. And out of that, and the room is dark, by the way. They've got the lights down. They don't want anybody to see faces, apparently.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. And But anyway, out of those 400 or 500 people in that room, I'm gonna take a guess and say that 490 were hackers. And there were 490 hoodies that were up, right?
I'm literally wearing a gray hoodie right now.
Yes, yeah, it was crazy. And I'm listening to the guy giving the seminar, giving instructions on how to hack certain things, and everybody's taking notes, everybody's writing, everybody's heads are down, and they look like monks, right, with the hoodies up. And it was one of the most intimidating. And I thought, man, this is
almost religious.
Yes, it was. Oh, definitely. That's a good way to put it. But the hacker culture, they didn't allow me. You witnessed it too, as well. They didn't exactly embrace me going through there with cameras and stuff. Eventually, they warmed up. But the hacker culture is something that's very proud, and it's not necessarily about causing trouble or getting access to secret information. It's the hack itself, isn't it? Like picking a lock, right?
For a lot of it, it's adrenaline. I mean, a lot of hackers do actually a lot of lock picking as well. If you had gone, I don't know if you did, but if you went to the area where all the various tables were out and people were doing everything from selling their latest book or anything else, there was a section of tables where people were literally just sitting there teaching each other how to pick certain locks. It's a very similar mentality. It's all about getting past the security of something and the thrill of being able to defeat what someone thought they had built securely.
Yeah, I went through the convention hall there with all the vendors.
Yep.
And I'm walking around and I was like, wait a minute. Why is everybody selling lockpick kits? Right? Tools. And there was just tables of them. And as I sat and talked to everybody, that's when they told me, hey, man, that's the hip thing, man. The unpickable lock. We all
the
can
favorite
pick a
thing
lock.
I own isn't one of my computers. It isn't one of my various portable devices. I have and this is funny, but I have a hat. It looks just like a standard baseball hat, right? You couldn't tell anything from the outside. Looks just like the team that it says it is. But if I take it off and I actually pull apart the brim, but from the inside underneath of the hat,
right,
it opens up like you see in movies, where suddenly the little thin thing opens up and on the inside are all the tools. And every lockpicking tool you could ever need is inside of this hat, and they're all made out of this really thin aluminum that's really light. So I can barely tell the difference between that hat and another hat when I'm wearing it. But you can't see a thing from the outside. But the weight doesn't bother me, and it doesn't show because of the material. And that's by far my favorite thing I own. I love that thing.
Man, that is so James Bond.
It is, and you can buy that type stuff for so cheap these days.
That is so James Bond. Back to the possible hack of government files when it comes to the UFO question. I have often said that disclosure of the UFO subject is going to be, if it happens, is going to be beyond the government's control. It will be something akin to a WikiLeaks document dump when somebody successfully gets access to those and gets them online before anybody can step in and do anything about it. That would be a way to go about it, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, depending on which side of the fight you're on, you either think Edward Snowden getting access to the PRISM system was the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, right?
Right.
The right set of hands with the right mind for what he's looking at can do wonders. And he saw what was going on there. He tried to report things the proper ways, realizing that it wasn't going to work. He pretty much gave up everything, right? Mm-hmm. It's the right human being in the right situation. Who knows? I mean, for all we know, the in the government's eyes, the wrong person gets access to this stuff in some legitimate way. Promotions, moved into the right office in the right military establishment, and suddenly says, "Oh crap," and dumps everything. I mean, humans will always be the weakest link in any security.
And they will be the weakest link when artificial intelligence takes over too, as well. We will never be the strongest link in the chain when it comes to computers. And I've always said that. Staying with this part of the conversation and sort of moving on. You brought up Tom DeLonge, and over the last 2.5 years, since December of 2017 to be precise, when the New York Times did the big expose and the blowout on the secret government program and what was going on with the UFO subject in these videos, the media has chosen to portray UFOs as something we need to be afraid of. That it's invading our military space, it's threatening our good people of men and women of the military, that we can't have that. And the fear factor has been put into play. Fear is one of the great pieces of ammunition for the media, and they certainly played it out this way with the UFO subject when, as far as I know, nobody's been hurt, and there hasn't been a grand alien invasion on this planet. Otherwise, you and I wouldn't be talking right now if they wanted to do something. But that is an example, isn't it, of the media completely manipulating a story.
It really is. I mean, when I looked at that story specifically, and even the stuff that Tom was saying, if you read his exact quotes and listened to his interviews, he was very clear trying not to sensationalize it in terms of he wasn't saying this is absolutely aliens. He was just saying this is a UFO. And, those are two very different statements. And I think he was doing that mostly to appeal to a wider audience that wouldn't have liked it if he had just said this is aliens, right? Like my mom's going to turn the radio off at that point,
right?
But a lot of other people wouldn't. But it's a smaller audience that's kind of listening to that argument. And I think when reading all that media, they definitely played the scare tactics. But for me, the first thing I took from it was I've read a lot of books and listened, honestly, Audible. I love listen to a lot of books on early Lockheed Martin days, just getting a feel for how Skunk Works actually got stuff done and how they kept everything hidden, and their security measures has always kind of fascinated me. I'm not a big fan of the military-industrial complex, but you can learn a lot studying it. And just watching what they went through with the SR-71 and even with the F-117A, the big triangular stealth thing, and then following news articles where our military that wasn't clued into the stealth program was reporting to their senior officials, I saw this thing and it's a UFO. And looking at the UFO reports on those two planes from other military, when I first saw these videos that DeLong was, out there putting out, I thought this has to be another one of those programs where a military has something that we just, we aren't telling the public about. Remember, the F-117A was first flown in like the late 80s, and they didn't show real pictures of it on a tarmac until like 2000, right? I mean, it was a while before those things were completely, put out there with, all the information about, yes, it's true, it's ours, here's the deal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was around 1990.
Tech that we're not going to see for 20 years that the government actually has, but this arm of the government doesn't know.
There's no question about it. It was around 1995 when I saw my first 117 at an air show, but it was completely surrounded by guards with machine guns. By then it was like
15 years already in service.
That's right. And so it begs to ask the question, how many of those black triangle UFO sightings out there were the F-117 or the B-2?
And how futuristic did it look to you in 95?
Oh, man, it was alien. Are you kidding?
It was alien, right?
It was.
So for all we know, these videos are showing something that we're not going to really understand that our government has for another 15 years. That's one possibility. The other possibility, of course, that we literally just don't know what it is.
Why is it, Greg, and you've seen the media manipulate you and your background, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why you have firsthand, real world, you went to prison. Right?
Okay. I did.
So,
sucked.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't a good time. Why does the media feel the need to put the spin on it instead of the truth? How they force us to dig for the truth instead of being out front with it from the get-go. Why is that?
Well, media spin is, all about who owns that specific media and what access they're trying to maintain, right? So the Post, while Bezos swears up and down that he's letting it be, journalistically integrated, all the integrity still in place, and he's not pushing them to be more deeply capitalist and all the other fun things like he is. We know that that's not true. And the New York Times wants to make sure that it keeps good access to certain people in government, so it's never going to call those specific people out, so it can still getting sources and still get stuff written. Then there's, everyone has a backer. Journalism doesn't make much money unless you're a very few rare people. It needs that kind of patronage, and it also needs access. And so whenever I see a story spun in a specific way, I know it's one of three things. Either they wrote that because they knew it would drive in clicks, so it was just clickbait, or they wrote that because the people behind them, the money, would like that, or they wrote that because it would continue to give them access to things that they wanted access to. I don't look at it as a thing where I honestly believe that that's any kind of a story they cared about for 90% of the articles I see out there. It's usually one of those three driving factors in my head.
Now, the the old days when we would see the edit desk, the newsroom, and a news editor sitting at the head of the table. Okay, what have you got? Right? And breaking down the stories, and it was all about integrity and sourcing your sources, 2 and 3 times and making sure that everything was accurate. Today, I don't believe that is the way that the news is handled. And
I don't think there's much news handled that way. I think there's people in news who want it to still work that way and live in some fantasy world in their head where they have that job, but I just don't think it's that way much anymore.
And why is that? Is it clicks?
It's money. I mean, money takes over everything. And when journalism got to a point where it was really hard to actually make a living at it without looking at it sideways and without finding other money and without optimizing, you saw, more consolidation. And then the government steps in and gets rid of a bunch of regulations in the space and allows people to start merging and migrating together. And you end up with things like Sinclair Media, who own, hundreds of local TV stations. And you just get these moneyed interests and power consolidating everything. It's not much about journalism anymore. You find journalism on the smaller level these days. One of my favorite sites right now is a guy, Scott Stedman, has a site, Forensic News, and it's interesting seeing him figure out the ways to keep the thing running and keep the people writing for him actually fed while also telling the truth. It's a really hard struggle.
It is, and it has to be that way. And we thought. And when I say we, I mean generally here on this planet, that after 2016 and the fake news pandemic that went, completely crazy with not only the national media outlets struggling with the fake news and reposting and quoting absolutely fictitious pure fiction writing that was showing up on the web, and it gets retweeted. And once that happens, suddenly it becomes truth. And
nobody reads retractions,
right? Nobody cares, and retractions are rare these days. Yeah. But I think that the world thought that mass media and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube all learned their lesson with this. And they were going to clean up their own house. And here we are in 2024 years later, and the situation is worse today than it's ever been, isn't it?
It really is. And, there's a really strange technological struggle. You look at a Facebook, right? A very, very good example of one of the major problems here. If you listen to anything Elizabeth Warren has said, if she gets any more power than she already has, one of her first big fights is trying to break up big tech. And it's hard because I 100% agree with all the arguments for. And then I think to myself, so there's this many people who want to communicate with each other, and some of them are pretty bad, and some of them are just bad actors. Some of them are government-paid bad actors. You have to have quite the budget to afford the technology and the moderation teams and the entire buildings full of people just dealing with the quality of content and the reporting infrastructure. The amount of funding it takes to just moderate on Facebook is astronomical, and it in itself it's not a profit center. It does not return money. So the money has to come from somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So how can you run a platform with millions of users in any way without somehow covering that cost? Well, they cover that cost through the advertising, through some shady deals about your data and all the other fun privacy invasions they do. But, when you break up big tech like that, you're going to find yourself in these situations where what's left is an ad company, a company that's good at running a chat system, and then a bunch of people who used to do jobs that were covered by those two companies who are no longer, able to make any money at what they're doing. And it'll be interesting to see how much worse the fake news problem gets if big tech is broken up, which I still think should happen. So it's going to be crazy.
Is Facebook too big to control, and Twitter for that matter, and YouTube? When you look at the totals there, and not even getting into cell phones and Google and Apple. Okay, putting that stuff off to the side. But if you just look at the big three, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you're talking about a global outreach on this planet close to 3.5 billion people. There's only 7 billion people on this planet. Are they too big to control at this point, in by any measure?
Well, yes and no. I mean, they're too big in a sense that, it's going to take a lot of work to get any real controls in place. Not because you can't, not because regulations can't be written, not because regulations can't be passed, but because there's money in politics, and those giant companies can afford better lobbyists who can buy better dinners and better vacations for your senators than you can, so they win that fight. And that's the problem for me. Yeah, and just like if you go back to MySpace or even AOL, AOL at one point owned the internet. There's no question about that. And but they failed. And is anything too big to fail, or will there always be something better, faster, stronger, sleeker, cooler that will come along and take over one of the big guys? Could YouTube be replaced by something else? Could Facebook be replaced by something else? I don't think YouTube has any real competitors out there that can handle just what it does. And building that technology, I don't think that one is one that gets replaced. That's a personal opinion, but I think Twitter's one that could lose that fight. One of the interesting things is, like my kids, like they don't have Twitter accounts or Facebook accounts. They're all on other platforms. Right. They're all talking to each other on Discord and like 10 other different platforms. So there's definitely a generational thing where a lot of the younger kids are not using these platforms. And, a lot of the ones coming up looking for the cheap thrills are now on things like TikTok. Right. And, that came up out of freaking nowhere thanks to a lot of Chinese government funding. Yes, I know. I took the words right out of my mouth. What about Facebook? Facebook is a bigger problem. You're going to need a couple generations of people to kind of die off. But they're fighting that one. They're fighting that one by spreading their internet through their free phones they're giving away, and their free internet through their balloon system that they're putting up, and the plane system that they're building across places like Africa and other places with no internet or low internet penetration, and then getting everyone signed up. So if they lose some of us, they gain somewhere else. And they also have things like Instagram. We don't realize, most people probably don't know, they don't care that is a Facebook product. Instagram is the one that a lot of people go to, and I've heard you mention it a couple times, but like Instagram doesn't bother me that they own that. So they spent $1 billion of their bajillion dollars, right? Who cares about Instagram? What I care about with Facebook is when they bought WhatsApp for $17 billion. That one, the penetration and control that they got out of that one was mind-blowing to me. Yes. A lot of Americans who don't work with a lot of foreigners for their job or spend a lot of time having to communicate with foreigners, like especially with a lot of the circles I've run in, don't realize the penetration WhatsApp has. Like, if I talk to anyone in the Middle East or in India or Pakistan or just any of those regions, it's all WhatsApp. It's all WhatsApp. And I've got 45 seconds before the break. WhatsApp has end-to-end encryption, correct? They implemented the Signal protocol. Okay. Do you think that Facebook or WhatsApp, do they have a backdoor to the end-to-end? No, not on WhatsApp, I don't believe. I've never trusted their end-to-end on their own personal messenger product, though. But again, also that's a whole nother thing. How much do you trust the device that you're doing it on? Because that's your first problem. Yeah, it's not necessarily their implementation. It's the microphone. Is my microphone tapped before it ever gets to their encryption? Nobody ever thought of that until now. Thank you for that, Greg. You just scared the crap out of everybody. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Gregg Housh. We are talking about the media, manipulation, and you. More with Greg after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Well, we are also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Gregg Housh. We are talking about how the media, all of it, TV, radio, the internet, News, everything is manipulating you and the world around you. Most likely, you don't even know it because they are professionals, aren't they, Greg? So, do you still have the original anonymous mask?
I do.
Man, don't invite me to your house. Don't invite me to your house, Housh. You're going to have to go back and double check. I'll get it out of there. It might be a little cracked by the time I make it to the car.
But. Funny you say that. The original one does have a little crack in it now, and I've moved it up to the attic to make sure it doesn't get any more damaged.
Right on. Now, you practically, quite by accident, by the way, you practically invented the flash mob. And without going into details and telling that story again, the media, all of it today, understands how to get to people in nanoseconds. They can manipulate millions and millions of people quickly. And there's no question about the effectiveness of a single tweet that goes around the world and how it can inflame people and get things started. This is a method of operation today, isn't it?
It is. And, I mentioned Sinclair Media earlier, and I want to say, my favorite example of specifically what you just said is from last year when someone did a video where they took local coverage from the same morning in 140 cities, and it's all these little local anchormen, and maybe an anchor woman, and sometimes the weather guy, but there are 140 of them. He collages them all together in one video, and they all say the exact same words in the same pattern, in this exact same tone and speed. It's it's scary just watching it because it feels like some horror movie starting. But it was just a statement that Sinclair said every station we own has to read. And they all read it as if they were talking themselves in their own words to their own, viewers. And you could tell just how manipulative it was being. It was built to set a tone for the day. So when some other news came out later, everyone would take it a certain way.
And locally, right? Locally in your town, you think it's just you at the local level seeing this. You don't realize that the exact same message, word for word, is on every Sinclair station that's outputting at that moment.
Yeah, and they don't just own local Foxes, like here in Boston, the Fox 25. They also own some CBSs. I think they own a few NBCs. It's not like it was just one network that they did it on. Right. They own multiple licenses, and so. Yeah, you don't see it unless someone goes through the effort of doing that, someone with the time, I guess, to do so.
And the other part about this is when, certainly with what we're going through today, but in the last election cycle and catastrophes and hurricanes and weather and shooting, it doesn't really matter what it is, but there is always going to be an effort on the media's part to make sure that they steer your mind in one direction or the other, right? They're not necessarily concerned about the news. They're concerned about how you are going to react, and they want you to react a certain way.
Absolutely. It's all a form of control. I mean, every bit of it is built to keep you have to look at everything that happens, the media that you get as honestly, the media that you get. It's what they're willing to give you. It's what they're willing to tell you and the way they're willing to tell you. And like I said earlier, there's only a few motivators for these people, and it's keeping their job, it's keeping the money paying them happy, it's keeping the people in power happy, or it's keeping access to the people in power. There's not really much else on their agenda. And the things that keep the people in power and their wealthy benefactors happy are you being docile and a good consumer. So almost everything that they are driving you towards is that.
Now, what about I think we all understand that the media, and I'm talking about the news specifically, is doing this. But what about Hollywood?
I mean, what about them? I mean, some people out there are just, I'll say it, true artists who are actually trying to do this for art, and somehow their movies slip out every now and then. But, you know, there are definitely agendas. I mean, most of the time the agenda is how much money can we make and consolidate and, you know, all that fun stuff. But there are agendas that they push their missions. I mean, I think if you watch all of Clint Eastwood's films for the last about decade, you'll see a definite agenda coming kind of from his political stance.
Yeah, and now you have been a consultant and a producer of sorts on different projects for Hollywood. And
it's been fun.
Yeah, and the reason for that is accuracy, right? Right. There's that part of it. And the second part of bringing in somebody like you, there is another spin to that. Not only do they want to be accurate, but they also want to scare the crap out of you that these kind of things can be done. And that's why they bring you in to make sure that these subjects are correct, right?
You know, it's definitely both. I mean, for me, it wasn't the money. I was low enough on the totem pole, not union, and not carrying my card yet, so I did not get paid much at all. But so they didn't have the money over me at that point. But yeah, when I looked at everything, it was really interesting because, you know, technically I was able to work with them to make sure that, you know, the hacks looked right, that the stuff on the computer screens looked right, that the words the characters were using were correct, and little writing here, little writing there. But following the process and what I was allowed to do, you know, I couldn't change much in the way of story arc. Like, everything was in place, even if some of that would be wrong in the way the hack was kind of going. I would just have to rework the hack for them to fit their story arcs. And that one was always interesting to me because there were some better ways to tell some pieces of the stories.
Yeah, sure. And the messages that definitely come out of Hollywood, and I'm talking about television as well as feature films, there must be, Greg, a pyramid scheme, right, where there is somebody that is doing the instruction, you know, that comes down, and there must be somebody at the top of everything that is not necessarily a puppet master, but somebody is telling Hollywood what to do, whether it's the CIA or what have you. And then you also have the news media control, and we'll address Facebook in a second. But do you think that there is, you know, some dark room in Washington, you know, where they meet every day and discuss these things, and then they head out, and one controller is dealing with Hollywood and another one is dealing with the news media, so the message is the same?
I think there's some of that. I mean, I don't think it's as hard as you're kind of putting it there, but I do think that, you know, the understanding of how the industry works is a little off when you talk to the general public. Like, even like when I explained to my mom how some of this stuff worked, like the centralization of people at the top and the power that they have is where the problems are going to occur. Because, like, if you look at Anonymous, the way we built it as just an idea where there wasn't a head on top, like, they could have at the beginning of it thrown me in prison and the thing would have happened because it was already out there and the way it worked would have already grown. But when you look at, like, top-down structures, you end up in this exactly pyramid-shaped thing where there's a guy at the top or a board at the top who are manipulatable. The government can come in and control one or two people that suddenly have control of thousands of people. So out in Hollywood, when a movie gets made, you know, some writer out there had an idea for a script, and, you know, he's unrelated to all of this. He's just some guy trying to get by. And he gets it over to the Writers Guild, and, you know, they certify that he wrote this thing, and that's just one of the steps to protect yourself so someone doesn't make your movie without you getting paid.
Right.
But, you know, you go through all these steps, and then suddenly, if you're lucky, some agent sees it and says his star, you know, like, let's say he represents Brad Pitt, should look at this. And people are looking at it, and once one of those names says, I would be willing to make this movie, it then goes in front of studio people, and studio people take looks at it and decide whether it's a movie they want to pass up the chain. And then that goes to their bosses and their bosses. It's about the fourth meeting up the chain when it's down to like the top 3 people in the studio before the call is made. Yeah, we're making that movie. Here's your funding. Go. And by the time, that you've gone through all these processes, it's filtered down to very few scripts have made it that far up the chain, and very few people are making that decision. So there are definite points of influence that could easily be controlled. I don't know how strongly they're being controlled, but the way it works leads right into it.
And then you have the rewrites, right?
Of course. And then you have the rewrites and the little edits and the change this character to a woman and change this character and edit this line and now make her a man again. And, but by the time you're done, it's about half the script you wrote.
Now, I had read a few different accounts of the scripts being literally submitted over to the CIA for review. Happens all the time, by the way. The military's got to look at things and so forth to make sure. But that pages have come back with rewrites on it from Washington. If you want this movie to go forward, well, you have to add this.
One of the more famous ones was the Will Smith movie in the 90s there. What was that? Independence Day.
Yes.
They wanted to film on some very specific locations and really film at those locations and say some things and do some things that, the government might not like or not. So they actually asked more permission than they normally ask for because they can honestly film outside in a desert, in 3 other states if they wanted to. But they weren't really hardcore for some of the stuff they wanted, and they had to submit scripts to all kinds of people to get access to the places that they wanted access to.
Yeah, speaking specifically of Independence Day and the influence, that was the first film where Area 51 was mentioned. And the Air Force did not want that, and they
went back and forth on that one a little. They ended up being, let's call it in air quotes, okay with it. Like, we're not going to arrest you for doing it, but we're upset.
Right, and they pulled support, from the Air Force from the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really great example. I had forgotten about that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is moving towards with these same conversations. We have a platform like Facebook, which is without question huge, and their influence cannot be measured. It's huge. What is the government's control with that? In that we don't know if there are fake Facebook pages that are government creations, right? We don't know. We don't know which ones are real and which ones are not. And certainly other state actors from around the world. It could be a Russian Facebook page that is run out of Ethiopia. We don't know these things, do we?
No, I mean, we definitely know they're happening. I mean, it's such an inexpensive way to peddle influence, but we just don't know which ones are actually, those pages until they make mistakes. It's rare that it happens, but, really stupid mistakes are made. There was here I live in Boston, and there was an account here claiming to be Boston Antifa, right? And in Boston, we have things like, big, kind of neo-Nazi groups, and that surprises some people, being that we're supposed to be this liberal bastion. But the right-wingers and far-right come out and do protests in town. We had the Straight Pride Parade, and, there was tons of, actual neo-Nazis with, swastika tattoos on them at the parade. And so this person, who was actually not Boston Antifa in any way, kept tweeting, and the tweets were coming from America. And you can see sometimes when it says, from iPhone and this and that. And then just randomly, as we're all calling out that we don't know this person, and we've never heard of this person, and that's not us, and that's not any Antifa, and that's not anyone counter-protesting, they accidentally tweeted from Kirkutsk, which is where one of the Russian influence internet companies is that actually peddles for the government and works for the GRU, and so the tweet actually had that on it. They deleted the tweet really quickly, but we all got screenshots of it. And so the only times we find out that they're doing these things, other than we just know they're actually doing them, is when they make mistakes. And
Human
luckily,
error.
it's a lot of humans, so they do make mistakes.
Right. And there's another thing that disturbs me, and it's my own issue that everyone has the same issue. We look at Facebook and we just assume that everybody is from America. Right? You just assume that. A friend request, or whatever. Now, of course, there are people on Facebook from countries all around the world. Okay, I get that. But we look at it as America. We look at it as Facebook as the United States. State actors know this. So
they do.
Yeah, they and so establishing a Facebook page for a group that is in America, establishing a Facebook account, an individual that is based in America, but those profiles are created on the internet and can come from any point on this earth, from a sock puppet or a fake account from somebody that has very, very bad intentions in mind, right?
Absolutely. And it's unbelievably easy to do. I mean, the software out there that you can buy for this has come down in price and complexity to the point where, like, I could point you at a $70 piece of software that will manage most of your Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest accounts for you. And it'll manage like 200 of each for you all day long for like $70.
Wait a minute. I guess I'm being naive here. Of course, this kind of software exists. But you're saying
cheap, it's point and click, it's GUI, it's drag and drop, it's dead simple.
Oh, man. 200 accounts.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I actually have running on a server just to toy around with, I have the one that does 150 accounts, and I think I pay $68 for the software a year.
And so what do you do to set that up? Are you just creating fake names and just going down the list? Bob Smith,
it was
Bob
a tool
Jones.
that I wanted to kind of figure out how they do this type of stuff, a while ago, and then kind of keep up with some of the tooling in the space. And so I set up a few accounts on each system that it runs, and it gets content from some content marketing software out there that's trying to help companies build content, but honestly, it just looks like you're posting, shit you found on the internet, right?
Right.
And so it gets new posts, it'll respond, it'll like, it'll follow your friends, it'll follow back, unfollow after a while, like all that type of stuff on all the platforms. It'll accept connection requests on things like Facebook and LinkedIn for you. On both of them, it sends out like happy birthdays to people, and it uses a syntax where like each one is kind of randomized, but they all read like good English. But so they aren't just every time happy birthday name, right? It's not like static, so people start to wonder every year, like, he's not sending that, that's a bot. You can program them. And so I've got a few accounts on basically every platform that it runs for me just to kind of feel it out. And one of the Twitter accounts, I'm not going to name it because I don't want it to get outed, has like 14,000 followers and is only following like 20 people.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, and I've tweeted from that account like twice. The software does all the work.
Oh, you've got to be kidding. And
I only spent like an hour setting it up like 2 years ago. Like, I haven't touched it since.
So these
But I had to reset the password once. I'm sorry, I did touch it once.
So these rooms, and I think most of us picture these sock puppet, which the military has their own sock puppet division. Don't fool yourself on that.
They call it persona management.
Yep, persona management. And so I picture an individual sitting there creating manually these accounts, and maybe 8 or 10 accounts, and they're out there manipulating and fighting and arguing and trolling and doing their things. But that necessarily may not be the case.
That hasn't been the case for over a decade. Back in 2010, the Air Force put out requests for bids to military contractors, through their standard system. So anyone, that had rights to that system could log in and check it out. And Booz Allen Hamilton actually responded to one of them. Booz Allen Hamilton, of course, being a military contractor.
Are you allowed to even say Booz Allen?
Well, I mean, I was literally sitting in Barrett Brown's bedroom one day when he called the CEO and head of the board for Booz Allen and was just yelling curse words at him. So I don't know. I think we're friends.
How's Barrett? How's Barrett these days? Really quick.
Oh, I love him. He's doing good. We still talk all the time.
He's great. Okay, moving on.
But with Booz Allen Hamilton, the goal of the request for bid that they put out, which was leaked, by the way, the whole thing was leaked by Barrett Brown. It was for getting a military officer from the Air Force the ability to manage up to 500 personas. Just one human being able to be 500 people. And this was, I believe the RFP was written in like late 08, early 09, but it wasn't actually bid on until like 2010, 2011. But the idea being that if you read it, it's really cool, actually, like, in a scary kind of a way. That they wanted the software to be able to adapt to colloquialisms, so it needed a database of how people talk and certain words from certain regions. So, people from Texas would say y'all every now and then. People outside of London might call you a chav every now and then. It needed to have the ability to adapt its language to the region of the earth that the person was supposedly from. It needed the ability to have a database of most likely sports teams they would like and automatically kind of have them talk about those sports teams when they do good through signals that would be sent into the system, about, the New York Yankees did this. So all their New Yorkers, say something about it or go find the tweet. But the end goal was having one person able to control 500 people. And when you read their actual reasoning behind it, they laid out a story in this freaking request for bids about, imagine if we had this tool before going into Iraq the second time. We could have used it to create a bunch of Iraqi citizens and over a year slowly convince the online communities that all of the Iraqis were in that we were the good guys by being Iraqis, saying we were the good guys, and basically having our own army of bots invite us to come invade the company or the country. That's what the request for bids was using as justification for needing this.
How many Twitter followers do you have?
Me, I think it's like 83,000, somewhere around there.
How many of those are bots?
I have no idea. The last time I ran a tool, I went and removed like 5,000 of them.
Right.
But that was a year and a half ago or so.
Right. Are you concerned with it?
No, I mean, what do I care? I
exactly.
can kind of tell. And I run tools. So, I mean, everyone on Twitter should be running Bot Shield. It's amazing. It's from Bot Sentinel. Mm-hmm. So if you go to Bot Sentinel, and it marks people that it knows are outright controlled bots. Others it marks with kind of a range of untrustworthiness. And you can see them because it literally changes the color of their tweets. So like it's an extension for your browser, and it really changes things.
Now, this bot software, this pop socket software, I've got 15 seconds. It can be set up to have a trolling personality too as well, to just get inside of your head.
I mean, you write the content for it, so you write it in this specific syntax, so it rewrites itself when it's going out different accounts, and you can write whatever you want.
Oh, man, that blows my mind. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. That is why, right there, Gregg Housh is our guest tonight. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. More with Gregg after this short break. Stay right there.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo
soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y lo cito para que escuche a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I just had my complete world tipped upside down by Gregg Housh. Thank you for that, Greg. And I wanted to give a big shout out right now in the YouTube chat room to Marie. Marie, hello. You are very special, and Marie is not a bot. Now, this is the thing. I get, and I see it on Facebook, I'll get 30 or 40 friend requests a day. My account's been locked out for years, right? Okay, so it's no big deal. But I see the requests that come in from people that have no friends. No friends with me, right? It'll be zero.
Yeah, you're not calling them losers. You're saying they're probably bots.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've often thought about that. Why would somebody want to friend request me if we don't have any mutual friends? How do they possibly know who I am? Right? Look, my version of celebrity, the celebrity that is Jimmy Church, is ridiculously small. Right? I have no illusions of my celebrity, but and certainly there may be a few people out there that would give me a friend request if we don't have mutual friends, and maybe, but that I ignore that. I don't think that's a real possibility. Those 30 or 40 friend requests that come in every single day, which I delete, by the way, they're probably just bots, aren't they?
They are. I mean, there's a few discovery methods used. The tool I was talking about earlier, the best trick it has is you tell it to follow a hashtag on, you can do it on Facebook, same as you can on Twitter. So on Facebook, you'd say anything that you see posted on the timeline using the search box with this hashtag, go and follow the person who talked about it, and then go and send friend requests to everyone who commented on it. Anyone who accepts the friend request, now look at their friends list. Anyone whose privacy settings are set in a way that you can see them, send them friend requests. And it just starts going down the chain trying to follow half of the damn platform. That's one way, and that kind of automates it, but it also helps you build a targeted audience of people who might have similar interests. And boy, if you build a targeted audience of people who love the beach, you might be able to push Ray-Ban sunglasses on them. They might buy from your Amazon link. So that's one reason it's done. Another reason it's done is visibility. With all these networks, Jimmy, you can post something that says only my friends can see it. Well, they want to make sure they have accounts that can see it.
I was fascinated with, you just brought up Ray-Ban, right? Where I will get these messages for Ray-Ban. It's like, wait a minute.
Every day I get a few.
Right. It's like nobody's selling what? And I immediately just block the account.
They're selling Ray-Bans. I mean, they're fake. They're knockoffs, but they are. They're totally trying to make affiliate money.
The manipulation of this. Once they get out there, and I'm talking about these sock puppet bot accounts that are done en masse. I had no idea that. Well, of course, it's done by automation. It just makes a lot of sense, and the ability to manipulate the account to like a post of yours. Most would think that type of account wouldn't be a bot if they're liking my stuff, but this is all done by automation, and that would in turn manipulate the mind, wouldn't it? It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the entire point of it. You can also, since it's automated, you don't have to pay as much attention to it. You can build up these connections over time, so you can do all kinds of interesting stuff like, I can make a friend account with you, someone who connects, and then because, we've been connected for a year, someone will connect to me, they'll show as mutual with you, and then over time, I might end up, because you trusted me initially, because whatever initial contact we had, be it on a thread or one of your other friends, now suddenly I have 20 people that are connected to you because you saw all the mutuals. I must know this guy. And that trigger really works with people. Like if I have 10 mutuals, I'm probably going to just accept because I know you. I'm sure I'm just not remembering you, right?
Right.
And they use that to then peddle influence. They'll go into your chat and they'll start having conversations with each other. You'll post a link with your opinion about said news article, and then one of them will post something kind of incendiary, and then others will argue with them from your point. You'll agree with them, and you'll be better friends. And so you'll have these bots that are actually having conversations in your comments to make you better friends with one of the specific bots. Like they do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's all automated. Like all of it.
And now, It's one thing to imagine these being used for political means, society, pop culture, to sway opinion and to go in and to start a dialogue which you engage in. Then it's another thing altogether to know that the military, agencies, and others out there understand this and are using it to control the masses, right?
Well, one of the funnier things about the story I told earlier with the Air Force actually asking for persona management software,
right,
is that the only proof we had was a piece of a request for bid that we shouldn't have had access for. That was them asking for software that they have no right to actually have or control. It's definitely not software that they, Congress would have to come in and do some serious work for them to be allowed to do what they were talking about doing. So the Air Force could have put out a statement like, we don't know what they're talking about. They typed that up on a typewriter. Instead, the next day, they put out a press release saying, while we did write that request for bids, we ended up not going with anyone and not doing it because we weren't supposed to do it, basically. I mean, they said, we wrote that, but we didn't actually follow through. Like, they vindicated us. Like, they made what we had said and the document we had put out real simply by putting out that press release. And it always blew my mind that they did that because there was no reason for them to admit that it was real.
There must, I'm answering my own question, but there has to be boiler rooms in cities across this country where employees of the government go in and sit down at a terminal and fire up their day's agenda of communicating through these persona accounts.
Yeah, I don't know which offices here do it, specifically, but it would be FBI, CIA, people like that, military. I mean, in Russia, we know the GRU is who's in control of a lot of their stuff. The modern, KGB, and in Germany, we know it's the FSB that control a couple of their what are referred to as internet troll farms. But they're not troll farms. I mean, these are influence machines. Right. They are manufacturing consent to quote Noam Chomsky there.
Well, I saw a recent documentary, and I forget what country they went to in Africa, but it was in Africa, where they went and chased down a troll farm that was being funded out of Russia. And they went and spoke to the employees there at this troll farm. That part of it, I understand that this goes on. It was the group that was created on Facebook, made to look like it was running out of a city in the United States. The subject matter doesn't matter. But all of it was done remotely out of Africa, completely with the image of a Facebook group that was based out of, and pick an American city, right? Cincinnati. And that was frightening to me that nobody that was participating in this group had any idea that the influence was coming out of Russia, based out of a country in Africa, but this was a localized group in a city in the United States. And it's all easy to do. It is completely cheap. You don't have to.
It's simple.
Yeah.
And AI is making it better and better. I mean, if you want to look at some really interesting photos, go to generated.photos. Not .com, not .net, just generated.photos. It's 100,000 photos of people's faces, headshots, that I'd say 90,000 of them look absolutely real, and you can't tell it's not a real human being, that AI completely generated from scratch. Those aren't photos at all.
Now,
And the bot systems use those to make their avatars. So when they build out in that city, let's say Cincinnati, they can build, 20,000 people's faces that will look like they belong there, that have, very specific ethnicities and kind of even classes. Like you can tell, like, that person looks a little poorer than that person who I believe probably drove here in a Porsche. Like, they can build them out even based on that kind of data and build out these personas. So even a lot of the photos related to this stuff are completely faked.
Like that, somebody just posted up here in Twitter, Trump's Twitter account. And out of I have no idea how many millions of followers that he has on Real Donald Trump or whatever that account is. But it makes you wonder how many are bots that are followers there.
A lot, I would say.
Makes you wonder, right? And how
it's so cheap and easy to do at this point. I mean, the influence peddling is already going on in other places, so you don't have to do much work to kind of convert it to this. Let's say you're Russia and you have a specific interest in a specific type of business working well in an area outside of Cincinnati. And you need the population to kind of go along with it. Well, creating a Facebook group, creating some Twitter accounts, creating a lot of locals who are all about this and talking positively and arguing the right points is a good way to make the population there happy about whatever business interest you had going on there.
It makes you wonder.
And those business interests usually end up actually being political interests, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right. And forget about having spies now from the East, right, from behind the Iron Curtain. That's a waste of money, isn't it? It's certainly Putin, at China. It doesn't matter. You pick Iran. They understand how easy it is to infiltrate the United States now, and it's not with somebody that's got a pulse, right? You would do it completely through the internet.
There's companies out there that are private that sell into the military sectors and sell into the government sectors, exploits for software, for hardware. One that's in the news right now has been NSO Group. They're a group that develop and or purchase zero-day exploits, meaning these things aren't public and the company doesn't know about this hole in their software either. And then they will package them up in ways that can be used for basically spying or infecting machines or tracking people. And then they will sell them to governments for millions of dollars. But, I mean, when you actually start to do the math, a $2 million purchase of an exploit that'll get you 5 targets usually ends up being cheaper than the 100 or so people it actually takes to keep one good, solid agent out in the field.
Tell us.
It ends up being cheaper at that price. Even if the exploit only works for 6 months.
What is a zero-day exploit?
Zero-day really it's an older term, and it just means that it's been public for 0 days. This means it's not posted. Nobody knows about it. The company doesn't know about it. The person who discovered this hole in this piece of software, let's say it's a specific app on your phone, and when I get you to visit a website, it is able to take control of that app, install an extra little piece, and then suddenly I'm listening to all your WhatsApp calls. That's a zero-day exploit, or might be one. That's the one that's currently having problems in court here in America with WhatsApp versus NSO Group. WhatsApp is trying to convince the courts that NSO Group did some of its work on American soil, so they can then take them to court in America. They're trying to, get that done. NSO Group says we're not from there. You can't sue us in America. The 0 day is really just some hacker out there finds a hole in a piece of software. He could be some altruistic, genius who isn't out for money and profit and doesn't need to make a house payment. And he goes straight to WhatsApp, to Facebook, and says, I found this hole. Facebook are going to pay him $20,000 to $50,000 for a hole that bad. NSO Group will give him $1 million for it. Who's he going to sell it to?
The idea of bots and persona programs would indicate to me Project Mockingbird, a modern day version of that, where Project Mockingbird for the CIA was putting physical reporters and newscasters at different newspapers and news organizations and media outlets across the country to control what was being put out there in the media. Today, that the same version of that would be controlling social media through a massive persona and bot program, right?
Yeah, I mean, Twitter is a great example of that. You know, you'll see something come up in trending out of nowhere. Like, the first tweet was 10 minutes ago, and suddenly there's 50,000, and it's the #1 trending thing in this specific city. That's not that normal. That's not normally how that goes. It normally takes a few hours for that to happen, and instantly you're looking at the accounts. Half of them don't have photos. The other half, you know, have had accounts for 2 months, and you soon know, you know, this is some country with unidentifiable botnet, so they're not doing that well. But then you also can think back to the ones you couldn't identify were probably also just countries doing it too. And you know, that influence is big because they could get something trending that is like literally targeted at another specific world leader or an entertainer, someone in media, someone in the news. You know, with cancel culture these days, which sometimes is right, sometimes that person needs to go the fuck away. Excuse my language. But with that, you know, these botnets have a power, and sometimes they use it, and sometimes it's for real bad, you know, government on people stuff, and sometimes it's just strangely used to control narratives, shutting up journalists by changing the narrative and kind of the conversation around that specific journalist.
Now, I have seen pictures of different, how do I say this? Different, what's the word I want to use? Where I have seen racks, rooms to the ceiling full of cell phones. Right? To the ceilings, all the way back. Different countries around the world. There isn't one country that doesn't do this. But to not only create personas, but to go and actively participate in Twitter and Facebook. And is this also happening with YouTube?
Yeah. I mean, the same software I mentioned earlier will control YouTube accounts. Just as easy. I just have to go and add one. I haven't played with it yet, but it's got all the same options.
Right. And what's the purpose of this? There is, and what I mean by that is there is a hard expense involved with all of these cell phones. Then you have the wiring, you have the matrix and the logistics that has to go in to put together a room that is doing this. And these rooms are voluminous. They're huge with thousands.
There are a few reasons for it.
It's money,
most of
right?
them actually come down to the technology that the companies themselves, like a Facebook, like a Twitter, have implemented to catch bot farms and to catch people, you know, using tools like the one I mentioned. Once they all have unique individual phones with unique IDs and they're all connecting up to, you know, cellular networks, getting different IP addresses, it starts to become much harder to identify it as a network. Whereas if they're all coming from, you know, 2 servers sitting in a server rack, well, then you've got to do all kinds of other manipulation that a lot of times it falls apart or is in some way identifiable to people like Twitter or Facebook because they've got enough money on their end to be fighting you. And how strongly they're fighting you, you know, who knows? That's, you know, I'm not building their tools, but I've definitely watched lots of bots get caught and get destroyed. So I know they have some functionality. So you do it on phones because when I connect up to Twitter with the Twitter app that they wrote, that seems a lot more real than my bot software that's manipulating a web browser.
That's right. So it's an IP address that's going to be different, number one. And number two, you have to, if you're going to impersonate and create a bot account, then you have the callback, the text, with the individual
You've got all
code.
the two-factor stuff, which you can automate on phones.
Right.
And you got other stuff too. Like, having different phone models is even important because they can tell that type of stuff. So, like on the software that I play around with, I can actually choose which version of an Android phone it identifies as it's playing around on Instagram. I can tell it, well, that phone's a ZTE phone, that phone's a Samsung phone, even though they aren't phones at all. They're just, lines and basically what looks like a spreadsheet.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean,
you can choose the model, the year, the make of Android that they're running.
And I know that there's some people out there right now that are going, Church, come on, you can't be this naive.
Right.
But in order to set anything like this up, you would have to be able to do that because you can't look like one single individual that's running the software sitting at one terminal, one computer. You can't look like that. You have to have different phones, different IP addresses. And the other part about this, you mentioned this earlier, I don't want to let this escape. You have to go and pull images, right? You have to have an image. Nobody wants to be the generic Twitter image without a photograph of yourself. So where do the images come from, Greg? And if it's Facebook and you're setting up this account, you have to have pictures of your dogs and your puppies and your kids. Where does all of this come from?
It really depends. I mean, one of the more interesting tools I saw a few years ago that one of the countries was using, I was told it was one of Israel's tools. They could actually feed in lists of people's accounts that had passed away. And they were scraping their accounts for all their data and then building up bots in complete other cities, other countries with enough of the image that didn't, someone's backyard probably, 9 times out of 10 isn't going to show you where they live. It's not going to have the water tower with the name in it. Most people who take photographs aren't, Hollywood masters who are doing good setup shots with identifying, information in the background, right? So a lot of photos do not identify enough to make it really traceable. So they had a system that would go out and gather all the personal information off of that account, grab all their photos, all their everything, and then kind of remix it a little and then put it up in another city and say, this is a person who just moved to that city. And because that person was now also passed away, that person wasn't going to see themselves in another city and say, hey, what the,
Yeah,
maybe a family member might, but then you can just say, who do you think you are,
I had read, I'm not sure if it was on Vice or, Mother, I read a story that was about this, where somebody had their complete history, photographs, posts, and things created as another account with another name. But everything that was there, the photographs, the parties, the families, everything that was listed in this, photo album in Facebook was lifted from another Facebook account. And this was a bot account, but this person happened to catch it. And they caught it because another friend, what were the odds? Right? What were the odds? Somebody happened to see this picture of them together in Las Vegas, but it wasn't them. It was somebody else, and they happened to go and look at it. Other than that, this would have gone unnoticed.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easy to do. One of the other tools that I have access to will go through, and it'll actually, if you can give it the link to their Facebook, and they aren't smart enough to have their privacy settings right, you can pull an email. And some LinkedIns, you can do that too. And you give it that, and then it uses that email to start identifying other social media accounts. And by the end, it'll pull in, everything off of their Facebook. It'll find their Twitter. It'll link that up and grab any media they've put there. But then it'll actually go over to their LinkedIn and grab any employment history and build that out. and then it'll go and rebuild all the accounts on all the platforms. But the scraper just builds you a local database, so it fills up like a directory of this human. It spits out one file that's a CSV, kind of data format that'll hold his name, his date of birth, all that stuff. And then a folder of photos if it's off of Facebook, it'll actually do them by album name. And the cover photo is just in a directory named cover photo and stuff like that. But it'll scrape, and you can set it on its way if you've got enough proxies, which is just kind of a way of hiding who you are and making it look like you're a different person. You can have it grab like 500 a minute for a couple hours and then go build all the bots you want.
That's incredible. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight, Gregg Housh. There's a reason why Gregg Housh is Gregg Housh. And I hope you're picking up on that vibe. Thank you so much, Greg. Stay right there. We'll continue after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to GetTheT.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's GetTheT.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, I'm back. Somebody just tweeted, Jimmy, are you live? Do you mean alive or live? I'm not sure what that means. And, okay, now there's another part of manipulation, Greg, that I'm fascinated with. And that is when you go to a news outlet and you read the article or you see the video, and then you scroll to the bottom and you see the comment section. I have never commented on anything ever. First off, I don't have the time. But the one thing that I'm fascinated with is when I look at the comments and they are all from one direction, one after another, just right there. And I think to myself, who has the time to go and comment on? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of media outlets around the world. Forget about YouTube and Twitter. I am referring to individual cities and news outlets, which could include Fox, BBC, MSNBC. But you go and you look at the comments underneath that. And I have thought to myself over and over again that these are not real people making these comments. Right? That's a way to manipulate those who are going to go and take the time to read the comments. I'm not sure how many of them are real people and how many real people would take the time to reply to another person's comments. Right? How many of those are just absolute government-controlled influencers, whether they're puppet persona, sock puppet accounts? But how much of that is just pure manipulation?
Let's be real here. There's absolutely no way to know the extent of it, right? We're not on their side seeing their tools, but what I would say is it's also, for anyone actually paying attention and looking at it through that lens, it's not hard to see. And so you've just got to remain vigilant. I mean, in the end, the influence campaigns are too cheap to run these days. The manipulation is too easy to do, and human nature with its echo chambers and its want to reinforce its own beliefs and wants to be proven right. All of that put together means the influence campaigns are just going to keep happening. So it's not on us to find a way to stop them, because I don't think we can personally. And I've been fighting all kinds of fights for a long time. That's too cheap and easy to do right now. What you have to do instead is be vigilant yourself. You have to watch it yourself. You have to notice it yourself, and you have to call it out when you see it.
Are you suggesting, because I'll throw a number out there, I would say 99%, right?
Sure, but I mean, statistics were invented to be invented, right? I mean...
But what I am suggesting here is when people go and read those comments and those threads, they're assuming that these are real people with real concerns that are posting this stuff.
Oh, there's a high percentage of them that are not, that are absolutely bots, that are influence peddlers. And then there's a percentage of people, the one thing that you're leaving out there is the people that not only have already been taken by the bots, so they just believe, but, we're a tribal species. We want to have an in-group. We want to have a group of people that talk like us, that believe like us, that have the same fears and worries as us, right? And when you run into an environment, one specific local news outlet that has a specific influence campaign running against it, so all the users that are commenting are from one botnet, and you buy into it and you love it and you feel like you're part of that group and you start joining into the conversation, well, you're now part of the problem, because you're just influencing, exactly like they are by being a part of it. But that number grows. I mean, the reason this works is that people fall for it and that we want to be part of groups. So, while it might start out as a higher number, it's like some of the stuff I've played around with in the past. You can come into a situation where 99% of the people that are actually talking right now and agreeing with each other are bots. But within a month, you only have to have 25% of those bots around because everyone else has joined in because they wanted to be a part of the group. And you don't have to be working so hard. They'll do it for you.
And
humans are programmable.
Right. Blowing my mind right now. And one of the, I would say that all groups, and it doesn't matter if it's music, food, sports, politics, religion, everybody's got an emotional thing that's in play here. That's why they're part of the group, right? And here, our circle, which is loosely, I would say, conspiracy, and then underneath conspiracy, you have UFOs and the paranormal and the supernatural and lost history and in Egypt and just things that are there. But if you want to go and screw up the minds of a group, the conspiracy group is one of the easiest things to come in and start, spinning a narrative and getting people just get into their heads and get the plate spinning, right?
Yeah, well, you've got this interesting mix of people in kind of the conspiracy space where some people will look into that space and say, "Oh, you're all so stupid," but that's just not true. It's a group of people with their eyes open in a different way. They're looking for more truth out there. They're not looking for the story that they've been told. They want to find things, and without people out there looking at stuff that way, we don't have interesting archaeology. You talk about Tepe there a lot. We don't find stuff like that. So you need those people with that way of thinking. But because they're so open to new ideas that don't have a lot of backing proof, and they're willing to start going down those rabbit holes to try and find it, they become manipulatable by the forces that are trying to.
And if you want evidence of any of this, when you think about the way out there conspiracy stuff that went down with the fake news trend that kicked off in 2016, and you find out that it's 16-year-old kids in another country literally pulling a bong load in the morning, thinking of the craziest thing that they can post, right? Some crazy conspiracy, and they go and they post it, and that post gets liked and shared 1 million times by noon, which was the goal for all of them, was how much traction they could create, by the middle of the day, because they were getting paid. Right? And the more clicks that were there. That is one of the craziest parts about this is people want a good conspiracy. And they're going to go and retweet it. They're going to go and share it. They're going to like it. They're going to repost it on Facebook and share it on their own pages. And people love a good conspiracy. And
sometimes it's just good entertainment. But, most of the time it's just them trying to find a lot more out there than, again, what they're being fed. And, I've never been much of a conspiracy guy, but I've also not looked down on them. We people think that they're more manipulatable, and that's to a degree, but I think that's a little kind of a rude way of saying it, right? Like, they're just more willing to go with things until they find out if they're true or not. Now, that does lead to, like you said, they might share something before they've gone and gotten a lot of facts about it. But it's an interesting community for the influencers. But the one thing that you mentioned there that's really important for people to understand is when you look at the social media side of this, especially, but even in relation to the news articles, things like Facebook and Twitter moved over in the last few years to more algorithmic timelines. So when you're looking at things, it's no longer every single person you're following in the order they tweeted stuff. It's kind of that plus a little mix of science in the background with some math on top of it,
How does it work?
Those algorithms, they look for early signals. So if I post something and within 5 minutes, suddenly it's got, 1,000 freaking likes, it knows, man, that content's doing well, and boy, I like my platform to be making me money, so I'm going to show more people that content. So botnets gets to kind of manipulate these algorithmic timelines by, if they're good enough botnets that they haven't been really kind of quarantined off to because Twitter figured out that they might all be friends, then they can send something out with one account, interact with it with these other 500 accounts really quickly, and then the algorithm is going to show it to 10,000 people that wouldn't have seen it without the botnet.
And this could literally happen with the right botnet. 500 people interacting is a significant amount, but it can also happen within seconds, I would assume.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The only thing you've got to do is make sure that you're not identifiable, so every one of your bots has to be coming from a different IP, from tons of different countries, from different device types. You've got to have a system that you put a little time and effort into. But, 20 years ago, that was $1 million operation. Today, that's a $400 operation. Like, it's, it's not expensive.
And today, I'm not going to bring up coronavirus, but I will bring up coronavirus theories, right? The conspiracy theories behind them, which today these theories are created all day long, and it doesn't matter what it is about. But today, the conspiracy theorists, I wrote an article today for The Telepath about this, which is this. It's the rise of the conspiracy theorist, because today, with the lack of real information in the media is about fear when it comes to coronavirus. You can't go and get answers. But the conspiracy theorist has an answer today for anything that they can create. The answer is coronavirus. Right? So you go and you make up the conspiracy theory, and then your answer is coronavirus. Your proof, your evidence is coronavirus, which has caused this stuff to go nuts on the internet today. And it doesn't matter what it is. 5G, vaccines, the banking system, unemployment, the bioweapons, the control of another state to bring down another state. It's China creating this against the United States. It's the United States creating this to bring down China. You can't have it both ways. But
both theories are out there.
Both theories are out there. And both sides of every conspiracy theory are out there. And because coronavirus is the answer and the internet is there, people are sharing it, liking it, commenting on it all day long now on the internet, aren't they?
They are. And, the thing that always actually bothers me on this one is that it leaves a very ripe environment for the snake oil salesmen. The people who are either simply trying to build up their influence, so they want to raise the, follower accounts, the group members on their pages on Facebook, whatever it is they're trying to build up. But on the other side, there are people literally trying to sell things that they say will help you. Alex Jones got in trouble because one of his pages for one of the random supplements he pushes was actually saying it would help with coronavirus. Well, you can't say that because it doesn't. But, there's just these people out there who, and that's not a statement on him in general. I'm sure he did not write that text. He's got an operation, right? Mm-hmm. But, it's just the snake oil salesmen are going to abuse this, and they're going to abuse the conspiracy-minded way of looking at it. It's sad, actually. I hate it. But the bigger problem is you then get so much pushback against all of the fake, all of the obviously dumb, contradictory conspiracy theories and just all the other stuff that, in the end, everyone who really isn't into conspiracy theories and even kind of looks down on them will push back against any theory that isn't the narrative they're getting told by the news, simply because they're sick of the 700 different versions of the theory they've heard today.
And is it that the status quo, and I'm talking about the rest of the planet, because of the pummeling of their direct, credible, what they would consider credible news outlets, the CNNs, the Foxes, MSNBC, BBC, whatever, of the world, is not giving them the real data on coronavirus and COVID, that now they are reaching out into the alternative world and seeing these coronavirus conspiracy theories, but one of these theories may fit their individual paradigm where they are at that moment, and they're going, hey, well, apparently it's real because coronavirus is the answer to this conspiracy theory. And now they're swinging off the mainstream media and looking at the different conspiracy theorists as accurate information.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this interesting erosion of trust in the media, which I think honestly is a long time coming. I don't agree with the fake news slant of it in terms of like why it's being said. A lot of the times that's thrown around. It's when the thing that was said was true, and fake news is being used as a weapon to silence that news. But while it might not be fake, it's definitely twisted. Each one of these big organizations has their reason for posting what they post. Fox News is going to be very pro-business and very pro-Republican. MSNBC is going to be pro-DNC, and CNN is basically corporatist. You can kind of look at all of these and what their slant is, and once you kind of look at it through that lens, you can see why. But the erosion of their kind of credibility as journalists through the use of this fake news term lately has been interesting, because I'm sure sites like Alternet and all these other kind of alternative news sites probably have seen massive spikes in traffic for the last couple of years. Yeah,
I see that trend happening too, and it has to be that way.
Yeah, it's something you've got to be noticing.
Yeah, I do notice it, and although I think it's great, the troubling part for me is when all you have to do is do a little bit of work and visit all of the news outlets. Do it in 15 minutes. Do a click through and go and read. And I'm talking about the extremes like RT and Fox and CNN and the things that kind of fall into the middle. But when you go and look, all of the reporting on the same subjects is completely different. Completely. It's completely from, and it's just like, wait a minute here.
They've got their spin.
Right. And you can't be expected to take an average. What? I'm supposed to do a bell curve here on my news, right?
No, at that point you end up in your echo chamber, and you end up with your in-group, the group that you feel kind of reinforces your own beliefs, even if you don't look at it that way, because humans aren't really built to kind of be that introspective about why they're believing something. But you're going to go, if you're, I'll be blunt about it. If you're my family members down in Texas where I grew up, you're going to go over to Fox because they're saying the things that you already believe.
Right.
Their spin is something that you want to hear. If you're, the people I actually hung out with when I lived in Chicago, you are watching MSNBC nonstop and believing every word Rachel Maddow says because she's telling you what you already know is true. And that is definitely a problem for us. But I think the bigger problem in terms of control is, there's this false narrative that Fox hates Democrats. Fox wouldn't have a viewership to manipulate if the Democrats didn't exist. If they somehow won some battle where the Democrats suddenly weren't there anymore and the NRA was running the country, no, that would hurt Fox. Because they make their money by stirring up their viewership against a common enemy. And, one of the biggest forms of manipulation we have in media in this country is that specifically. They know that they've got a group of people that hate that other group of people, and they use that to make money and peddle influence.
It's the same
MSNBC
thing.
Loves the Republicans. Dude,
right.
The RNC's the thing that RNC loves and the GOP loves the most in this world is every DNC member, because the GOP's donations are exactly and in every way tied to how many people in the DNC they've got to beat. Their base pays them to beat those other guys.
It's the same thing on the other side of the fence.
Absolutely. The DNC loves the GOP.
Yeah,
it gives 100%. Them a good foil so they can convince their people to donate more.
It is absolutely. I not only do I giggle at this, and this is the thing. not only is it the same for every single media outlet out there and the parties themselves, the politicians themselves today are absolutely blurred. Everybody's interchangeable. It's like everybody in both parties is a neocon. Right? It's like, yeah, and just wearing their party's colors, but individually they're all pulling on the same strings, and they're all pulling for the same corporate money, and they're all manipulated in one way or another by the military. And it's really funny to me to see the infighting when they all know that they're all the same.
They've just learned how to create strong bases that will fight their enemy for them. Their enemy, of course, actually being their best friend.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. It's really, really funny. I don't know how we got here. You know, I'm not. When I look at it from a historical perspective, like when I was 15, 14, 13, 12, reading Time magazine in 1975, right?
Didn't it feel like they were telling the truth?
Yeah, it felt a little bit different, but was it the same? And let's go back further. Was it the same in 1776? And I'm being serious for a second.
Sure. I mean, you want to talk 1776? Talk about John Hancock, a horrible, horrible human being. Yeah, founding father, sure. But do you know why he spent all that money on this little rebellion? Why he helped fund them and work with them? Because he was wanted multiple times by the British government for murder, for rape, for gun running, for slave running. He was trying to distract the people who might have arrested him and thrown him in prison again with a little rebellion that accidentally all of a sudden started looking like it was going to win, so he became way more involved and was kind of absolved of all of his past sins.
And so when we look back, like I just said, was it any different back then? Probably not.
No.
We're aware of it today because we have access to information in real time. Whether the information is good or bad, but we have access to it, and we have a 1 hour news cycle. It used to be a 24-hour news cycle, yeah. Right? And
our attention spans are shrinking every day.
It's a completely different situation today. Man, what a great conversation. I noticed before I let you go, I noticed that you've got a new website that's getting ready to launch. Am I understanding this from what I can see?
Yeah, there will be a site launching soon. It's basically the relaunch of my podcast. We're redeveloping the format a little, kind of changing it up and getting it to a point where it's more manageable.
Okay, and when can we expect
this? As you know, these things are actually kind of complicated to run and keep on time and get enough content for.
Well, you're one of the best at it. Are we looking at a month? A month?
Yeah, it's probably the end of next month when it's actually going to go live. I will be honest with the listeners here. That countdown there, if it's still even counting down, I've been bumping it by a couple weeks, every couple weeks, just to make sure it's still counting down.
Right.
But that was because I just didn't know when I was actually going to finally have the time to relaunch. And then I got sick. The last few weeks I've been really sick. So it's moved out to the end of next month when I think I'm relaunching.
And just to let everybody know, I don't know what Gregg had, but last week it sounded horrible. And but you're on the mend, right?
Yeah, I didn't go get tested because while I felt like I had a pretty damn bad flu, I also didn't feel like I was about to die. So I didn't think, going and wasting a test or getting in line or possibly, not having it and then catching it while waiting in the ER was a very smart move in any of those fronts. So I just self-quarantined, stayed home, treated myself like I had a bad flu, and it's as you can hear in my voice, it's passed. I mean, I'm coughing, but mostly like I'm moving my head far away from the microphone to cough.
Yeah, last week, Gregg and I were on the phone, and he coughed like every 10 seconds. And
I had a fever of about 101 average for like a week straight. I was seeing things. It was great, let me tell you.
Yeah, hallucinating without drugs. That's what I'm talking about. Gregg Housh, thank you so much, Greg. And we did put up Greg's new website link, gregghoush.com. And I did it so everybody could go see the countdown timer. But you can certainly follow Greg right here on Twitter. His real account is what we have up there right now, which is Gregg Housh with the little blue check mark. Thank you so much, Greg. Be safe. Give my best to the family, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you so much. Great conversation.
You too, man. Thanks for having me.
Gregg Housh, the absolute very best. You can follow Greg right here on Twitter. We've got it up on Twitter. It's Gregg Housh and with 2 G's, and you'll see the blue check mark right there. Thank you so much, Greg. This is Fade to Black. I'm going to take a quick break and come back and open up the phone lines. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hello, my name is Billy Carson, and I am a best-selling author and the founder of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Together with my team, we have built an all-new conscious streaming TV platform designed with every family member in mind. If you have ever wanted to travel the world and attend lectures and workshops from your favorite speakers but weren't able to, look no further. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. There are dozens of workshops and lectures from speakers you know and love. We have also included amazing categories to assure that your consciousness is entertained and elevating on a daily basis. Amazing interviews, ancient history, ascension knowledge, wisdom teachings, documentaries, conspiracies, mysteries, health and fitness, conscious cooking, meditations, finance, yoga, and so much more. To start your free trial on any mobile device or computer, surf to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's Forbidden Knowledge with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Again, visit ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I want to thank Gregg Housh. You can follow Gregg on Twitter at Gregg Housh, Housh. It's Gregg with 2 G's right there. Follow him on Twitter. Absolutely fascinating conversation. I'm opening up the phone lines now. 747-228-2051. 747-228-2051. And yeah, I think everybody saw and heard tonight in real time that I had no idea about the automation of bots. It had to be that way, and you would think that the automation of bots would be out there. But it's another thing to get a program, like you said, $70. You know, you get it, control 150 accounts. You could set them up to send out friend requests, right? And to also speak in a dialect and have it ranged to location. That's pretty incredible to me. That really is. And I go each day when, you know, I'll go over to Facebook and kind of poke around and I'll look up like I am now, and I've got 42 friend requests. My account's been locked out for a long time, but the friend requests still come in, and I'm looking here now. I just clicked. I just happened to click. I'm looking now, and there it is. No mutual friends. No mutual friends. None. There's a few that have them, but it's and I cleared this out earlier today. And here it is right now. I'm telling you, there is literally 30 or 40 friend requests where there's no mutual friends, not even 2. And that they have to be bots. You know, and I don't take the time to go and click on these individual accounts and to see what's going on. I you know, who would send me a friend request that I don't know? No mutual friend, nothing. Right? It has to be bots. And this type of automation like that's somebody posted up, I think it was Mark, in Twitter said, "Don't get any ideas, church." That's a scary thing to me. That's a very scary thing. And another part about this, what about those out there that would create a bot account, you know, 150, to manipulate and go follow themselves and then create conversations and comments inside of their own accounts, right? Think about that. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. You don't know what's true anymore. You don't know what's real anymore. And I know I'm speaking the obvious, right? I'm absolutely speaking the obvious here. You know, you don't know what's real. Before I mentioned 1984 and George Orwell, but yeah, you just don't know. I remember making a comment a couple of years ago about you could be arguing with something that isn't real. You're literally wasting your time on somebody that has gotten under your skin. And it's just not a real account. Oh, man. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Faded Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, you there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is Malcolm from Florida.
Hey, Malcolm.
How are you surviving the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah, I don't really talk about it, but we're just like everybody else. You know, we're dealing with it just like everybody else has to deal with it, and that's about it. I don't like talking about it because I don't want to be part of the fear, Malcolm. You know, so that's
True.
my take.
True. I agree. So I guess I probably shouldn't tell you that, like 2 weeks ago, I spoke to this guy at the hydroponic shop I go to who told me that Bill Gates is all behind it and that he owns the patent on the coronavirus and that he's injecting people in Africa with the vaccine, but he's also giving them, like, nanobots in the process. You know, I shouldn't probably tell you that, should I?
Well, I mean, I think the bigger question is, do you believe that to be true?
Not for a second.
Right. Does your friend at the hydroponic pot shop believe it to be true?
Now, wait a minute. Whoever said anything about pot? It's a hydroponic store, and they grow tomatoes there. Okay.
Okay. So
right.
your tomato specialist, does he believe it to be true?
Well, he's stuck outside the country because of the coronavirus, and his son-in-law opened up the shop for me so I could go in and get a couple of bags of dirt for my tomatoes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I think it's just an example of how far rumor has gone. Because I mean, this was 2 weeks ago, and now I start to see it on the internet. Did terrible rumors about Bill Gates and coronavirus.
Right.
I think somehow the guy was 2 weeks ahead of all of us.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. My comment to that directly would be, I understand his foundation and its concern with, and these are from himself. And I saw the documentary about Bill Gates that came out a few months ago, 3-part series, and they focused one of the episodes on his concerns about malaria and malaria around the world, and trying to help those countries. Now, on the surface, sounds good, right? Sounds good. Bill wants to spend his money on helping those that are affected by malaria. Okay. I'm happy that somebody is going to spend their unspendable money. How can you possibly spend a couple of $100 billion before you die? I mean, how is it? How is it possible? But if he wants to do that, great.
Build a new plane for the Air Force.
Well, okay, that's a whole nother thing. But
that's the only way I can think of.
But going back to the conspiracy theories out there. Right. Now, when you go to helping people with malaria is one thing, very philanthropic, and I can understand why you would want to do that. Everybody's got a hobby, and I guess that's his. But going to the other extreme, to connect the dots into patenting a virus, spreading the virus around the world, and then without a vaccine, and ruining economies, and globally, and having money lost around the world, and then introducing a vaccine. Hopefully you either have the vaccine in advance, or you're going to pay to have a vaccine created to go and cure these people. My point is, what is the end game for Bill Gates? That's all. Does he do it because he's an evil person and he just wants to do this, and he wants to inflict harm and pain and suffering and bring down the economies of world governments and countries? What's the end game? I don't get that.
I take it you're not totally convinced that he's a reptoid then.
No, anything is possible. Anything is possible,
no,
but what is the end game for all of the conspiracy theorists and followers of this type of conspiracy? I'm just asking for my own information. You tell me, what is the benefit for Bill Gates? He's got 3, 4, 5 years left on planet Earth. Why? What's the end game at that stage of your life? I don't know what it is.
You're now assuming that he's not going to have his brains cryogenically preserved.
If I'm
where this conversation is going.
Sure. Well, if I'm Bill Gates, I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would do it if I wasn't Bill Gates. I would do it if I was Jimmy Church. If I could afford it, I'd have my brain frozen.
I think you ought to set up a Patreon account for that, Jimmy. By golly, let's send you into the future.
Well,
a million years from now, they should be able to correct whatever's wrong with you.
That is true. So then why would I ruin the planet before that even got around to happening? Why would I do that? Why would I kill off half the world's population and ruin the economy if there's going to be no Earth when my brain gets unfrozen? And somebody else just posted, Deborah Mento just posted, depopulation. Again, just like anything else when it comes to this, what is the advantage of depopulation? Why would you want to do it? If I'm an elitist, if I'm a billionaire, if I'm a 1/10 of 1%er, I need as many people to work so I can make money.
Absolutely right. It significantly decreases the potential labor pool.
That's right.
You don't want that.
That's right. I saw a great, I've got to remember what it is. This is a science fiction film about AI and machines that had taken over. Okay? AI machines owned the factories. They owned they ran the planet. They needed humans to work, right? They needed as many humans as possible. That was the one thing that couldn't be taken out of the equation.
I think you're describing the Matrix.
No, it wasn't the Matrix, but the Matrix is another example, sort of this. They were using humans as batteries and memories. But
if you're an AI, I don't see the purpose in using humans as workers because robots will do the job and they never revolt against their owners.
Yeah, there was a reason for it. Okay, it was written into the script. There was a reason for it. But my point being, if I own the factories on this planet and I own all the farms and I own the manufacturing and I own the distribution networks, I need people to buy my products. I need people to eat my food. I don't need less people to eat my food. I need people to work for me. I still need the housekeepers, right? If I'm the billionaire, right? If I eliminate all of that, then what's the reason? I don't get it.
I know the film you're thinking of.
Came out last year.
1928, Metropolis.
No, close. Same idea, though. Yeah, I'm not that old. No, this came out last year. But that's the that's the whole thing when I consider all of this. Look, I know and I believe in my heart that the Georgia Guidestones are a rabbit hole to go down. What do those words mean? What is really going on here? Who did it? Why was it posted up for the world to see on the side of these granite slabs? And, in the middle of rural Georgia on a plot of land that was paid for in advance and these stones were made and manufactured? No. Is it a conspiracy? I don't know. The conspiracy is right there in front of you, certainly with the depopulation of the world and all of these concerns that are on the Georgia Guidestones. And I believe that there is something to it. I do. But my question is, why? Why would you want to depopulate the planet? Why? Why would I go and build, manufacturing plants for automobiles all around the world and depopulate the world? Then I have nobody to buy or drive the cars. I have nobody to purchase the gas. I have nobody to purchase the insurance and that scam on the cars. Or the car tires, or everything. It all falls apart. And that's just one segment of society. I'm just talking about cars.
Yeah, I know, but you obviously haven't seen the movie Cars. Cars don't need us. We need them.
Well, again,
Pixar,
Malcolm,
Disney, yeah.
Right. No, you just answered my question. That's exactly my point. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And The other thing with and I wrote all of this in my article today, is that there are conspiracies out there. Then there is another conspiracy that is the exact opposite of the first conspiracy, of which right now there are hundreds of them going crazy all over the internet. And you can't, and that's the problem with the conspiracy world. You can't back one of them. You can't look at one and then make a comment about it to have conspiracy theorists out there go, wait a minute, man, you got to believe in them all, dude. You can't just pick and choose your conspiracies. And so my response is, wait a minute, these conspiracies contradict each other. Well, yeah. So you got to believe in them both, dude. Because one of them may be right. You don't want to be wrong in the conspiracy, man. Either you're all in on conspiracies or you're not, man. You're not a real conspiracy theorist. And that's the problem with the conspiracy world. You know, in order to be all in, you know, you can't go and see a random conspiracy tweet that you don't, that's going against the conspiracy that you believe in, and so you go and make a comment on it, and you get pounced upon, and it's really funny. Well, no, I don't believe in that conspiracy theory, but I believe in this one, and the reaction's always the same. That doesn't matter, man. You're all in. You're all in. You believe in every conspiracy theory, or you're not a conspiracy theorist. You're a faker. You know, you're wearing a mask. And I find that fascinating. I really, really do. And today, the rise of the conspiracy theorists, it's never been like this before. Conspiracy theorists in the past were teased. You know, today, the conspiracy theorists, and especially when you have an answer like coronavirus, conspiracy theorists today are as legit as any of the news that is out there. Any of it.
Hey, Jimmy, there's a popular fallacy that stuff happens for a reason, because you're bad, or God doesn't like you or something. But I'm going to say here, and please pardon my Francais, stuff just happens. Stuff just happens.
It's possible, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Meteors fall out of the blue. People are killed. It doesn't mean anything. It happens. Now, if there's been, you know, either malice or negligence, that matters. But, you know, bad things happen to good people all the time. The one person who survives the sinking of a boat says, God saved me. And what happened to the 999 other people who were aboard?
That's right.
What did they do?
That's right. That's right.
My attitude.
No,
well, I usually run into you about the Dolphins, but by now tonight you've got to have some other callers on, right?
And we can do that. Thank you, Malcolm. Have a good night.
Great
call.
I stimulated your brain. Said, go Beckley Tepe.
Go Beckley Tepe. Although, and this is where going into this zone is difficult, when Malcolm says, you know, sometimes things just happen. And when we look at, I don't want to be the person to promote a conspiracy theory or back something up and go, okay, it may be this, and then in the end, which is very rare, that it turns out to be true. That's a rare thing when it comes to conspiracies. Most evidence is based on not only theory, but very, very loose connections. And some of it isn't even real, right? It's subjective. But that being said, then there's the other part of this, is that you don't want to take the chance on something and not only have it be wrong, but the other part is, if you go and back up a certain conspiracy theory on a subject, and that one doesn't turn out to be right, but another one does, that is where you get into a very strange zone. And I'll give you an example. You don't want to, I'm speaking completely just off the cuff here, but let's pick a conspiracy theory that the coronavirus was created in a weapons lab in China. Okay? You have the same thing being said that it was created in a weapons lab here in the United States. Okay? Now you've got two versions of the same theory. Weapons lab from the United States, weapons lab from China. You don't want either one of those to be right. Okay? You follow me? But what if so 3 months from now we find out that it was created in China or it was created in the United States, and you went on the opposite side. You said, hey, it was created in China, and then it turns out it was created here in the United States in a weapons lab. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? That's a funky world to go into, where it didn't turn out to be natural. It didn't come from a bat, right? It didn't come from another animal. It didn't mutate into humans. You know, what if? Or we have the opposite of all of that, which is maybe stuff just happens. Maybe it did come from the animals, the animal kingdom, and it did mutate, and it was transmuted into humans. Maybe that is the case. And what if that turns out to be right? And then all of these conspiracy theories out there are not true. And everything that was said about different individuals and people and political systems and corporations and individuals that have been blamed for taking the virus from here to there where lives have been destroyed. What if, right? What do we do with all of that? I'm not sure. That's why in this case, and I have asked everybody out there to just chill out. We don't know. There are hundreds and hundreds of reports and theories and news outlets that are saying things, and all of it can't be true. It just can't. So a couple of months from now, we're going to get closer to it. We'll be able to look back and reflect and assess and talk about it and debate and point fingers and do all of that. But right now we can't. Right now we can't. I've got time for one more phone call. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Yes, hello?
Hi. Who's this?
My name is Tristan Brumley. I am from Oklahoma.
Hi, how are you?
My mom called a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Kind of like I was supposed to call you a couple weeks ago during the first giveaway for the membership and everything, but I didn't get the chance.
Okay.
So, I have some coronavirus stuff.
Well, okay, we are at the end of the show tonight. We're going to leave the network here in about 90 seconds. Is there something that you want to get out there? Can you do it in 90 seconds?
Okay, I might be able to. So, 17, 20, 18, 20, 19, 20, and now 2020 have all been virus years.
Okay.
Right? So, the first one was the Great Plague of Marshville that killed, 200,000 plus. 1820 was cholera pandemic, and it killed 100,000 plus. Then it was the Spanish flu that killed 500 million people and a quarter of the world's population.
Right.
And I honestly do feel like it was a weapon, or the coronavirus is a weapon against people.
But was it a weapon in 1920 and 1820 and 1720?
I mean, I don't know, but it's no coincidence that the most major ones have been on the every 100 years.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's, I read the same thing, and that's enough for everybody to raise an eyebrow and go, yeah, what's going on there? And what was your name again?
Tristan Brumley.
Kristen?
Tristan Brumley.
Oh, Tristan. I got it, Tristan.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for the phone call. And what you should do on Thursday nights is our open lines night. And call me back on Thursday night, and we can have a nice long conversation. Just don't call me at 5 till 10. because that's the end of the show.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Tristan,
Yes, sir.
have a great night, and I'll see you on Thursday. Give me a call back.
Go Beckley Tappy.
Go Beckley Tappy. That's what I'm talking about. Tristan from Oklahoma. Thank you, Tristan. And with that, I got to roll credits. I got to get out of here. Thank you to Gregg Housh for an amazing conversation tonight. And it's just enough to make you think, right? Incredible conversation. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitello, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldridge. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night, Quitspiracy 4 with Jason Quit. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.